All right, hello, and thank you for joining the LeAnn Show. Today we are talking brilliant conversations with Daniel Obikwelu. I am super excited to welcome you, Daniel.
Thank you, Michelle. Pleasure to be here.
Yes, we are going to do a deep dive into AI. Now, this is an awesome topic that we're going to get into today. But before we jump into all of that, let's share a little bit about Brilliant Conversations. So, Brilliant Conversations is all about brilliant people, like those of you who are watching, and literally talking about topics that bring impact, that bring change, that could deal with our culture and how things are evolving and switching. How can we keep up with everything? What type of brilliant ideas and innovation do we have to share with the world? So, brilliant conversations are all about coming together, brilliant minds, and empowering and impacting each other for the change that's inevitable. No matter what, change is going to happen. And I never forget a guy that I met, it was years ago. He said, either you're going to roll with the change or you're going to get rolled over by change. So I'm
Yep.
like, let me go ahead and roll with it.
Yep.
So today I'm going to start with letting you all know who Daniel is, and I'm going to read his a little bit about him. Let me pull that up right now so you all can get all the tea on who you are hearing from today. All right, this is just a few lines. So, Daniel has a combined 18 plus years of experience in technology, management, consulting, and entrepreneurship. In his free time, he explores subjects and trends across AI, what we're talking about today, psychology, and the scientific research of how the world actually works. Ooh, okay. I like it. I like it. So, as we're getting started with this conversation, this brilliant conversation, Daniel, I want to hand it over to you for you to greet the audience and kick off with why you chose AI as a topic for tonight.
All right. So again, thanks, Michelle, for having me here. And I think this is perfect timing, considering this is a new year, and it's not just any kind of new year. It kind of falls into a timeline of certain events that have been predicted to happen. You know, it's actually been happening even before the year, but this year and going forward is going to be quite interesting. And we're talking about the field of artificial intelligence. I think a lot of people, even in our culture, I've been hearing it. It's a buzzword. It's all over the place. ChatGPT, OpenAI, O3, da da da. But why I think this talk or this chat is important is because there is going to be a significant impact, a very big impact on the way people live, the way people relate with each other, and the way people earn a living. And these are things that I think are overdue for serious discussions in the community, in families too, even dinner table talk. So why I think so personally, why I love the fact that this is a topic for today's discussion is uh, I come from that world. I come from the world of codes, systems, technology, optimization, automation, all that good stuff. And I know firsthand how businesses, corporations view the world. Um, and if anybody hasn't gotten this message by now, corporations rule society. The reason why you wake up every day and have a sense of purpose is because you are trying to earn a living, trying to get something done. And more often than not, the end result is a financial outcome or financial incentive. Uh, so far, the old paradigm has been go out, work a couple of hours, get a minimum wage or get a salary, spend, repeat. Well, guess what? Um, That is changing.
Yes.
And if any, yeah, it's changing, and it's changing very, very fast. In fact, it's changing so bad that I think early 2022 till date, if you look at the tech space, so I'm talking about the corporations that actually run the tech world. They're talking about the Googles, the Amazons, the IBMs, the Microsofts, the Metas, or previously Facebook. Uh, Look at the employee turnover numbers, or let's use the word the downsizing numbers, and we're probably looking at a couple million now. So these are people who fit that old paradigm: get up every morning, go to the office, work, pay your dues, get a salary, take the family on vacations and whatnot. Well, some people, or a lot of people who are doing that, are now without a job. And it's not because they were, you know, not prepared for what's happening. It's more of they knew what was happening.
Yes.
They were prepared in the sense that they were qualified, trained, and whatnot. What they didn't see happen was how soon their employers were going to implement these AI systems.
That's right.
Uh-huh. So so just and I went on a little trajectory there, but Michelle, that's pretty much why I'm excited about this topic. So now let's see how this goes, and let's see, what leading questions you want to start with, and then we can pick it from there.
Yes, yes, because that literally you put for the topic earning a living in an AI dominated future. So with just on a basic level, when it comes to AI, what are some ways you implemented it in your daily life?
All right. So you had a lot of cool cases, but let me just pick one. So I worked as what you call a data scientist or predictive analyst with a telecom company here in Canada. And this was 2000, so this was pre-COVID, 2019 to 2022, late 2022. And usually there's something we call analyzing consumer behavior in order to determine the likelihood of somebody making a purchase or making a decision that works in favor of the business. So part of what we do is actually look at all the data, right? All the data of every interaction the customers have had with our product lines, our businesses. And we could pretty much pinpoint, certain repeated behavior, certain patterns. And if we look at those patterns at a certain level, we could then predict to a certain level of accuracy that, okay, this customer is more likely to buy this product or that product around this time of the year. And usually we kind of did that kind of manually. We had to like collate all that data, clean it up, analyze it, then make presentations to the business stakeholders that wanted that information. Then, and this was like before we even got into OpenAI and ChatGPT and whatnot. In that organization, we had certain tools that pretty much are AI based. They are kind of proprietary, but they're AI based. What I described to you, we automated all those processes. So what happened was the manual gathering, the manual sourcing for data, the talking with everybody on the phone. Hey, could you get me this data? Could you get this over? All that was automated, whereby with just a click on a program, I could run that whole process from pulling the data from wherever it was hidden or based to cleaning it up to implementing some analytical procedures on that data to spitting out certain insights, having those things graphed, and then have those things pushed out to all members of the team or management that needed that information, including those at the marketing departments and those at the front end.
Wow.
That was a kind, so this was, and again, this might sound smooth, this might sound cool, but I can assure you it is not as sophisticated as what these modern AI tools can do today. And I'm talking about what just went on in my organization then, in a very, small capacity. It was a small team, but it was a small team responsible for, minting, millions of dollars for the organization. Now, and again, to your question, how did I implement this, in a previous capacity? Why your question is important is whatever I explained to you, Michelle, it's cool that I did that. But today, believe it or not, I am not needed physically to run that kind of process. An AI bot, an AI agent can do that.
Okay.
An AI bot can do that. And it's actually happened. I mean, there are a couple of use cases, and there are a lot of them. We could go through, a couple of them, but there are companies that are literally downsizing their staff because an AI bot, an AI agent can do the same jobs those staff members are doing, but do it in far less time with fewer human resources. In fact, you're only needed to kind of oversee a process. The actual, labor no longer needed. So this is just to kind of say that, with all my experience, with all my expertise,
Yes.
one AI bot coming into the picture makes me obsolete, makes me relevant. So the question now would be, how do you then position yourself in a
Yes.
world where you are not relevant? You have given 30 years of your life, 20 years of your life to education, retraining on the job, recertifying yourself, but it still doesn't mean anything once your company, your employer brings in an AI agent. So we could go into that, we could go deep dive into that, but that's pretty much an example of where I've seen, or I kind of know where this can actually have a huge impact.
Yes, absolutely. And I can definitely get in there in the conversation, the aspect of how do we position ourselves now? Now that we have all of this AI technology, it's something that I see trending online right now. It's a program called Cursive. Is it Cursive or something like that along those lines? But it's encouraging people to learn AI. And I think it's like spend 15 minutes a day, 10 to 15 minutes a day to learn a new AI app. And as you go through it, you'll be empowered to outsource some of your daily tasks to AI. So people are pushing programs and training applications to empower others to get into AI where they can start outsourcing their lives. like literally, like why should you do that when AI can do it for you? Here's how. And so it's so popular to the point where how do everyday people, and like you said, people who have dedicated years to education, training, implementation in the corporate world, how do we position ourselves to be in a spot where I can still triumph in this space, or I can triumph as a complementary component to AI, or what's a field I can get into that no one cares about AI and I can thrive. And so it's just different types of ways, angles that we can kind of pivot to see what does the heart of man want that's beyond what AI can provide. What's authentic to a person to where I don't care what kind of robot can do this. I don't want a robot hugging me. I want a person. That can be outsourced. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So,
Yeah. Yeah, you don't want a robot hugging you. Well, don't be surprised if that happens at some point. Well, not you, not a robot hugging you, but robots hugging people.
no,
Um,
they're starting with this. Have you seen this gigantic bear they have now? And
oh,
people are saying it's like a bear buddy. Like you can buy this
oh,
gigantic bear, and people are saying they have these like satire and other things saying who needs a guy when you have a big bear to cuddle with? And I'm like,
hmm,
it's not a
wow,
human breathing. It's not a person, but people have so many substitutes and artificial things to
hmm,
satisfy our natural lives, and it can very well get very robotic after some time,
oh
very
yeah.
automated, very artificial,
All right,
even
there we
though
go. There's a reason why there's a reason why it's called artificial intelligence,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
So pretty much whatever is human, you're not looking at the polar opposite. That's kind of a mirror, but it's artificial, right?
right,
So you know, and I like the question. I would want to kind of stretch it out beyond just the corporate environment to the general society because it's going to impact everything, right? The work environment, the home, education, health, agriculture. It's literally gonna transform society. And the reason why this is a critical discussion topic is because, um, and this is not something people want to hear. A lot of jobs are going to be obsolete, like literally going to be obsolete with this movement. So for example, I have a friend who works with a Swedish software company. Um, so I can't remember what the size of his team was, but right now it tells me that they're less than 7 people on the team right now, from something that was above 20 to below 7. So look at that huge drop. And companies can do that now because they are incentivized first to make profits above everything else. So if you were thinking that you were the star of your company, you were the star of your team, well, AI probably is 1,000 times smarter doing a routine, repetitive task than most humans are. You know, if anybody is thinking of integrating well in a world in the future of AI, you probably want to go back to first principles. So what I mean first principles, I mean um, put aside everything you know, every notion of education, career, making money, and just come down to basically the essential you as a person. What do I love to do? What am I passionate about? Assuming, let's say, I had no tools, I had no phone, I had no, well, nobody watches TV anymore. Anyway, I had no technology, I had no electronics, I had nothing that was like technology around me. Who am I? Right. Um, and then once able to kind of clarify and answer those questions, then the next step would be, all right, how does AI help me become more of that? How does AI augment that part of myself? So let's say, for example, I love to fish, right? I love to fish. You know, I, I have a fishing license. I don't fish, but I'm just kind of imagining how it works.
yeah.
All right. So I love to fish. I love that scenery. I love the outdoors. I love to be on the lake by myself, you know. And I probably want to maybe make that into some kind of earning avenue.
Mhm.
Good. You've answered that question on what kind of resonates with you. You love to fish. You love nature. You love being out there. Okay. The next question would be, in a world where my job might probably be automated by AI, where my boss or my employer would not need me, how does AI come in to expand and enrich my fishing passion? That line of thinking is exactly how everyone should be thinking now. Mm-hmm. Because if you're thinking that your job is safe from AI, most people would probably be wrong, you know. So this thinking, so what I'm sharing with you right now, this thinking is kind of it's a kind of insurance to ensure that to make sure that you're not hit by a bolt of lightning, and then ask people around you what just happened, right? So the questions to figure out where to position myself, where do you position yourself in a future where AI kind of dominates the workspace or the workplace? They should be asked today. And then the next step would be, when you figured out the AI tools that kind of augments that part of yourself, that gives you meaning, that gives you a sense of purpose, right? And you figured out, okay, these are the AI tools out there. And I'm not going to be mentioning any specific AI tools because trust me, there are a lot, and they keep on coming out. You could just do a simple Google search, and I'm not talking about the big ones. I'm not talking about OpenAI's ChatGPT or their newly released O3. I'm not talking about Google Gemini. I'm not talking about Microsoft Copilot. There are others coming in, and then you have a lot of domain specific, let me call them genre or subject specific AI platforms, AI tools. So there are some that are used for painters, visual artists. There's so many of them.
Yes.
Pick, and this is to make things easy for people. Pick the top 5. Pick 5 tools. Don't look for 100 that could do. You're just going to be drowned.
Right. That's
in
true.
This whole cycle of just exploring without doing anything. Pick 2, pick 3, pick 5 at most, max. And really, really, really maximize your use of those to augment whatever that part of you is that gives you a sense of purpose. Because I think there's something, and let me quote one of the big prophets in the space, Mr. Elon Musk, right? So he did say that in that future, which we're going to be seeing rapidly opening before our eyes, not in the next few decades, in the next few years. Mm-hmm. We're literally talking about a couple of months, a year, 2 years, right? He did say that you will not need to work. You will not need a job. Mm-hmm. But let us also remember that Elon is a multi-billionaire, right? So definitely, if I living on a paycheck, or I have a family to support, I would listen to him, but I would also kind of bring that to my level, right? So he did say that in the future, jobs will not be needed. And I think another prophet in that space, Mr. Bill Gates, right? He did say that humanity, and let me paraphrase what he said, humanity is going to be transformed in the next 10 years. Transformation from that point of view. So I'm talking about the point of view of these men who run these organizations. Their point of view is more about how the businesses they own and operate will maximize revenue, reinforce control. That is not for us to talk about. That's not our headache, because that's their world. Yes. What do I, as a, hardworking fellow, as a dad, as a brother, as an uncle, what do I do? How do I make myself relevant in that world? So what I explained to you before, coming back to first principles, establishing, what is your essence? What gives you a sense of purpose? Yes. And then asking yourself the questions, what AI tools, how does AI complement what I do? How does AI augment what I do? And then choosing like the 5, 5 tools.
Yes.
5, or if 5 is too much, 3. I'm figuring out, okay, fine, how can I use this to turn my passion or turn that part of me that I love? How
Yes.
can I turn that into a way to make a living, a way to be relevant, right?
Yes. I
Once
love
you
that.
establish that, you know, and I think that's going to be a wake up call for a lot of people, especially so anyone who doesn't want to do that exercise now, um, that's fine. Probably most people may not um, receive that whole shock, when when their companies, kind of implement this AI uh, transformation, because that's what companies call it. Oh, we're transforming our systems.
Yes.
That's a PR word. That's the public friendly statement. We're transforming the organization to be more optimal. What they're not telling you is that, oh, we've seen ways to hit 10x our profits or 20x our revenue. We've seen ways to, you know, cut costs.
Mhm.
We've seen ways to turn a 700, head count team to 10.
Right.
You're not going to see that in the papers.
Not at all. It's not going to be
Yeah.
an open discussion at
It's
all.
not,
It's going to
yep.
be strategic.
It's strategic. And
Strategic implementation before
there
you
we go.
know it. And I
Oh,
love
yeah.
how you simplify how someone can prepare themselves.
Yeah.
Getting back to first principles, identifying your purpose, and see how AI can augment that to where you feel involved in the transition of artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. You broke it down to bite-sized pieces. So I feel like, okay, I can do that and choose 5 AI tools that can support what I took time out to see could help me in my life to enter into this realm. And
Yep.
so when we have things like that, and when we have practical ways of breaking down something that can be so overwhelming,
Yeah.
I'd rather take your approach and be proactive than some people are forced to change or forced to pivot. Or you understand what I'm saying?
Yep.
You literally broke it down in such a way where, you know what, I don't have to be forced to do this. I can participate in the transition.
Yep.
I can participate in my destiny, my purpose,
Yep.
my livelihood, my family's livelihood. That what you simply put in a framework can literally transform a family sitting at their table discussing their future 12, 24 months from now.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And I think why this is also critical. Like I said, there are people who honestly, and this wave, it's gonna hit everybody, right? There are people who are honestly secure. And what I mean honestly, that's they actually feel that this whole transformation, might begin to make an impact in their lives in a couple of years, So not so soon. It's not going to be happening yet. We're not there yet. My organization is not there yet, but I can assure you that at a very high level. So I'm talking about board of directors. I'm talking about executive management. I'm talking about, the $1 million consultants, the guys who sit with your CEOs, who sit with your directors, who sit in boardrooms, who sit in Monaco or sit in some private island. This is what they're talking about. And these decisions do not factor in inputs or contributions from, the engineers, the floor managers, the senior managers. No, it's at a high level. And many of these decisions are made at that point. So once the implementation is now put into play, right? It's usually just a decision from the top. Let's do this. Let's assign a team. da 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 da, and it will hit people like like a thunderstorm, right?
Yes.
So, would you rather take command of your destiny before this happens in your own life, or would you hope and have faith that it ain't gonna happen to me? I'm protected, I'm blessed, I'm saved. Uh, mm,
Well, so here's the thing.
yeah,
That's not true faith.
there we go.
You understand what I'm saying? That's a form of idea of what you think faith is, but faith without works, it has to have some accompanying participation
Yep,
and involvement in order to manifest the desire that you're believing for. So I
exactly.
think part of that is having true definitions of words and expressions and beliefs so that they can actually manifest. Because if you don't have the truth of it, it's not going to actualize, and then you're frustrated at faith. Well, my faith must not be working. Or you know what I mean? It's
Oh yeah,
no, you
oh
don't have
yeah,
a proper application and participation in faith. And
oh
that's
yeah,
why it's not yielding what your heart desires.
oh yeah. And I'm bringing this up because I know at least in our community, a lot of people, talk that talk and they move that way. So I know in a larger society, it's not the same, but in our own community, it's kind of unique. A lot of people um, use that as an excuse sometimes. Um, but again, because I've been, and this is coming from a guy who's been in that world of technology, so I already know how quickly things can change. I've seen how things quickly change, even here in Canada. I've seen how things are building up. And like I said, many of these corporations, because of, being politically correct and being friendly, press friendly, public friendly, they will not come out to say this is what they're doing, right? So when I think, when I know Facebook, Meta, so formerly Facebook, when Meta fired, I think these were tens of thousands of employees. This was before, and this was in a span of I think 24 months. That's a
Wow.
lot of people. Then Amazon, Google. And usually what happens is, there's always a waterfall effect or a cascading effect. When these big tech giants begin to do stuff like this, people forget that there is a whole ecosystem around these big giants, of consultants, contractors, businesses that
Yeah.
also hire hundreds of thousands of professionals. A lot of families depend on those industries. So when these big giants make all these decisions, there's just that boom, boom, boom cascading effect. Because what that means is if we don't need as much contractors or consultants because AI is doing this for us, what happens is businesses go into bankruptcy. Companies close down because they are no longer being paid by these giants, right? So, and we're just talking about tech. Let's go into other industries, the fashion industry, right? People stay on you have designers. So, I'm just kind of, putting pieces together on how that system works in the fashion space. But imagine people who you call fashion designers who sit down and they craft all these beautiful pieces. They spend hours on their laptops designing clothes and whatnot. Well, guess what? A fashion business that hires 12, 20, 35 designers can do the same job with two right now. You don't need all those people. So I can go from industry to industry, and I'm only talking about one side of AI, which is kind of you're dealing with a system that you give some questions or inquiries to, and it then coughs back to you insights, answers, drawings, whatever.
Yes.
Another extension of AI is robotics. So people forget. So robotics is simply a kind of physical manifestation of AI, right? So the AI piece, so your ChatGPTs, your Geminis, your Metas, it's all done through some kind of interface. Your hardware, your phone, your laptop, what have you. Robotics, on the other hand, takes that information and actually makes a physical effort. So Amazon, for example, is going to be implementing a fully robotized warehouse. Imagine the thousands of people who work in warehouses. Well, let's say Amazon warehouses. Let's not talk about Walmart. Let's talk about Amazon.
Right.
Yeah. But trust me, if Amazon is doing it, other retailers are going to be doing it.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. So,
The trickle effect. Once they figure out there's more profit that can be made and there's ways to outsource and cut
oh, yeah.
costs and be lean, what they call it lean.
Be lean.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. So, Amazon already has a plan in place to fully automate their warehouses with robots. So that now kind of puts, unions, unionized workers, and it puts all that into a very weird, uncomfortable position because that means you may not have as much leverage, contesting for higher pay, better living conditions. When your employer can simply say, it's fine. We don't need you guys anymore. We're bringing in a new set of workers. I don't need to go to the bathroom.
Exactly.
I don't need to be on their phones.
They can
I
work
don't need
24/7 without getting tired.
24/7 without retiring, no vacations needed, whatever.
Exactly.
You see?
No cost on paid vacation. Yes. Yes.
Oh yeah. So and this is the real thing. And I know Elon will be released. I think he's going to be having he calls it, is it Tesla bots or something? So so I don't know if they're called Tesla bots. I can't remember the exact name, but he's releasing these new models of robots, right? Who can actually you can actually have them in your home doing certain tasks, cleaning, cooking, whatever. You just need to kind of put in certain parameters and they know how to execute these roles. So that is happening not in 10 years, not in 5 years, this year. So people would actually be seeing robots. So whatever you saw in the Hollywood movies, it's happening right now. In fact, a great movie to actually see that gives you a little hint on what's going to be happening is iRobot. So iRobot, I think Will Smith was the star in that film.
He was there, yes.
Yeah, that's a great film. I mean, when I watched it, then it was like, oh, that's cool. But now I'm like, oh my God, these guys were showing us what's going to happen.
On to something, right?
Oh, yeah. So that's going to be happening soon. Oh, yeah.
Exactly.
So,
and
yes.
Things like that, and you bringing that up is helping people put it back at the forefront. And not only helping people put it at the forefront, but one aspect I would like to highlight are the generations. So it depends on where you are. So someone who is 90 years old has a different perspective toward all of this change than someone who is 9 years old. You understand what I'm saying? We have the generations being born into this and it's their normal. Then you have the generation that are navigating and creating it. Then you have the generation who was ahead of that are in the process of pivoting from their normal and typical way of doing it into those who want to embrace it, because there are those who want to embrace it and continue to progress in their lives, in their livelihood. And then you have the people who are saying, no, I don't even believe it's real. I know what worked. I've been doing it since this day and I'm not engaging. So you got those people. And then as you get older, a lot of you will get some seniors who are like, I'm going with everything. You understand? It doesn't matter. I'm rolling with the tides. And then you get those that just don't care. They like, listen, in less than 20 years, I'm checking out, so I don't even care. And Some people they like, listen, I might be here next year, so I really don't
Yeah.
care. So it just depends on,
Yeah. Yep.
it depends on where the person is in their life, how they're going to embrace it.
Oh
So
yeah.
I know you have some information to share with us,
Oh yeah.
and an article to pull up. But before we do that, we're going to go to a brief commercial break and do an
Mm.
advertisement.
All
Stay
right.
tuned.
Okay. No.
Do you have a book inside of you? Well, I think I have just the answer to help you launch your book in 30 days or less. I'm teaching an awesome course, and I give you all the shortcuts you need to self publish and not only do it, but do it quickly. It's time for you to share your gifts, your talents, your ideas, your wisdom with the world. And I want to be the one to help you. And the icing on the cake is you can do it all with zero to start. I'll be teaching those strategies that are at your fingertips. Check out the description with all the information, and I look forward to seeing you in the course. Okay, we are
Mm.
back. Thank you for staying with us and tuning in. And we are talking about AI. AI, artificial intelligence, is here. It's not coming, it's here. And so we are here with Daniel, who is breaking down some things and helping us to get in the right framework mindset to be proactive with AI and how we can not get lost along our journey and navigate through some things. So, Daniel, I know you have an article to share with us. You can go ahead
Yeah.
and share that, and we can keep the conversation going.
Okay. So let me share the screen briefly and just walk you through it quickly. All right, here we go. Oops, my bad. Okay. See my screen?
There it is. I see it now.
Perfect. All right.
Ooh,
So,
I like that. Okay.
uh-huh. So why this is cool is because this is actually published by the US Career Institute, right? So this article is actually a derivative of some other research that they did to give us these 65 jobs, which in their research is not likely to fall victim to an AI automation. So let me read this little line here. It
Okay.
says that the following 65 occupations were all determined to have an automation risk probability of 0%. So their estimate is that these 65 roles are not likely to be taken over by AI or robots.
Okay.
Oh yeah, but
I'm
there's
here
a
for
caveat.
it.
Oh yeah, but there's a caveat. So I have an opinion about this list. So we're gonna go through the fun stuff. Then we're gonna go through reality.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Okay. So it's very interesting. The first one, and this was done in terms of what they felt was the most likely to not have uh, issues with an AI automation or robot takeover. And we have nurse practitioners, right?
Yes.
And it kind of makes sense because it falls into a discussion about what kind of jobs or careers will be relevant in a world dominated by AI systems, right? And
Yes.
the first couple, nurse practitioners, choreographers, physician assistants, mental health counselors, nursing instructors and teachers, post-secondary, da 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 da. So if you kind of look through the list, let's even look at the first 10, right? Athletic trainers, physical therapists, orthotists and prosthetists, occupational therapists, marriage and family therapists. What do these all have in common? Can you guess?
The healthcare field,
Yeah, that's cool. Healthcare for the yes, that's the first thing they have in common.
the human
Uh,
element that we desire.
the human element that we desire. There we go. So pretty much the first 10, I think even if you go down the list to even the first 20 or the first 30, there's almost that emphasis on the human element, the human experience.
Yes.
So pretty much careers or jobs that do major in enriching, expanding, amplifying that human experience,
Yes.
will be safe. And athletic trainers. So it doesn't. So a good example would be in a world dominated by AI. I would still love to go out and watch a match, watch a sport event. I would love to go out and hang out with friends and family at some major event or concert or something.
Yes.
And last time I checked, with all the evolutions of OpenAI and the different systems out there, none have come close to actually, even with the help of robots or robotic systems. We don't have that now. None of them have come out to actually put up a stage, set up instruments, hang the cables, clean the chairs, set the venue and the facilities for an upcoming experience.
Mm-hmm.
Humans will still be needed to do that.
Yes.
And humans would want to come for those events because that gives them a reconnection with who they are, with humanity. And the more we talk about technology and AI systems, it sounds more of this mechanistic, almost soulless kind of thing. And the truth is, yeah, the AI system, so Alexa, for example, Amazon's Alexa, I think, people use it a lot for all kinds of things, oh, Alexa, what's this, what's that? It's a kind of, it's a kind of precursor to what is going to be coming. So a lot of people already have that in their homes, right? It's a kind of agent. But what it can do is, Alexa, I need to have a birthday party in my home, and I would need to have 50 flowers, 100 chairs. You give Alexa your list of requirements for such an event. AI systems today can help you organize that list, maybe recommend, who are the best providers of what you need out there in the marketplace. It could do all that for you. It can actually help you get what you need for the event. What AI will not do or can't do right now is help you set these things up to actually have that experience.
Right.
So whatever you can do that connects you with the human elements in others, that's not going to be a problem in the future in an AI dominated world. So let's still go down. It's a long list. I'm not going to go through everything. It's to take us all day. But
now, while you're going through that list, I have a quick, really something different that just came out, and I'm sure if you saw it, but it's a very practical thing that's happening with AI. It's not top tier, but it is effective. Have you seen the Chick-fil-A delivery bots?
No, I haven't.
So what happens is now when you place an order locally, Chick-fil-A, they have a machine. They put your food in this machine. The machine goes to your home and you put in the code. It opens up and you get your food out.
Whoa. Is it a drone?
It's not a drone. It doesn't, it drives. It's almost like a cart, an automated cart that goes like a Tesla, a driving car, but it's a driving food cart. It's really small. And they put your food in there, and when you get there, it on your phone, it'll tell you what code to put in. You put your code in and you just grab your food.
So pretty much it's built so that if you didn't order it, you can't get the food. You need to put in that code to get it out. Well, guess what? That's what you just shared is an example of a blend of AI and robotics. Pretty much what the future will look like. So you have these self-driving cars, which have been tested and still being tested. You just sit in it and you kind of put in your destination. and you just lay back
Mhm. But
and you get to where you want to go.
it eliminates delivery drivers, though.
There you go. So so I'm happy. So you see what you just said right now. Most delivery drivers or even truck drivers, believe that they are safe for the next. Some of them believe that they are safe for the rest of their career, and that's cool. Again, I'm not against being positive. I'm not against feeling good.
Right.
I'm not against all that.
Yeah.
You know, the problem is there is feeling good, and there's been hate with reality, where you can no longer support your lifestyle or even feed your family. And no matter how, again, this also comes back to what I said earlier. Whatever you're doing, so I know earlier on I discussed coming down to first principles, deciding who you are, at your essence, what you love doing. Let me create a parallel to that. Look at your current career, what you currently do, right? Um, how can AI do what I'm doing? Is there any way AI can replicate what I'm doing? So these are for those who are comfortable in their jobs and careers. This is an exercise they could also carry out.
Yeah.
And it requires a certain level of honesty, right?
Absolutely.
Honesty, put aside every beautiful butterfly feeling in your heart and soul, and just be honest and ask yourself, can AI honestly replicate what I'm doing, right? And if the answer is yes,
Mhm.
figure out, okay, in what ways can it do that? And I think if people are honest to go through that process, they can decide if the jobs that they're holding on to so dearly are worth holding on to for the next few years, or whether it's about time they start rethinking how they make a living. Because if it's not your organization, and I always tell people this, if it's not your company, if it's not your organization, you are pretty much temporary. Your position is temporary.
Exactly.
Right?
It's not guaranteed.
It's
Yes.
not guaranteed. Yeah. So if I'm running a trucking company, I would know. I would be interested in what's going on in the tech space with regard to AI. But I wouldn't be as worried because I'm like, okay, until there's a complete wipeout of the trucking industry with AI, I think I could still have a few customers, a few clients, and I could have enough time to navigate that transition, whatever that means. But if you're working for a company as a truck driver, as a delivery driver, you definitely have to think about this because the company is going to think first about their profits before your family, before your income. Yeah,
Yes.
and that's reality, right?
And
So, yeah.
there is an element though that in business and in the world of empathy, they desire for companies to be structured where it's first people, product, then profit. However, the majority start with profit and then it trickles down to the product and maybe the people, the people,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? So it's kind of like it's a
Yeah.
mix of priorities. So things that you cannot legislate or dip into AI is our moral compass. You see what I'm saying? Those are not things that we can control in other people. We can influence
Yep.
and encourage and be an example of. However, in the midst of it, we have to recognize the majority that are running corporations are like profit driven. And as a business owner, I do understand that it's important to make a profit. And it's possible to make a profit and it not be at the expense of humanity. You understand?
Yeah.
They can coexist. It doesn't have to be either or.
Oh, yeah.
And to create scenarios where it's a win-win. And that's the heart of the corporation, the founder, the CEOs, in order to have those people in place so that their whole scope is win-win.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Win-win. Yeah. And while we were sharing that, something came to my mind. So the minds and the brains behind these AI platforms, right? So for OpenAI, we have this guy called Sam Altman, right? So Sam Altman was, I think, the founder of, well, one of the founders of the OpenAI movement, which was started as a non-profit organization. However, um, ChatGPT, which is actually made by them, is not completely free product, right? It's not completely free. Um, so Sam Altman has been making certain statements, in public, uh, on how certain jobs will be impacted. We also have a couple of organizations who are predicting, AI replacing like, was it 300 million or like almost a billion or so jobs in a couple of years because they already see what is coming. So there's also a behind the scenes discussion on what we call UBI, Universal Basic Income, right? So Universal Basic Income was actually a creation of these minds. So Sam Altman is one of the guys who has been discussing this. He's been hitting it, and you can also, anyone can do a Google search to see what that's about, and also maybe pull up some YouTube videos on Sam Altman talking about it, and a lot of authority figures in AI talking about it. And the reason why they're talking about it, and a lot of money is being pushed into research into that whole UBI subject, is because these guys, they're not just smart enough to build these systems. Some of them are smart enough to know the impact and also the reaction from society. And what's a society that is filled with people who have lost their jobs, people who have been taken by surprise, and suddenly they can't pay the mortgage, they can't take care of their bills and whatnot. Most times it's chaos, it's anarchy, it's riots in the streets, it's complete mayhem. So the way to placate that situation is some form of placation, some form of income. So I know some of those systems were tested during the pandemic. I know in the States, certain, is it stimulus checks?
Yes. And there are also some
Uh-huh.
people were saying that they're still implementing that this year from those who didn't get certain stimulus checks or didn't file for a certain tax credit that they deserved. So there's a big thing going on now. You can see it on social media. Hey, did y'all better be checking y'all? You better check your bank account because you can have a deposit if you didn't know, because the government realized that the majority of taxpayers did not file for their due tax credit. And so you're right, that's a stimulus that literally stimulates the economy.
There we go. Yeah. So the society is familiar with that whole exercise of receiving stimulus checks or some kind of support from Uncle Sam or the government, right? So what makes UBI different is UBI was designed or is being designed specifically for the society that these guys, I'm talking about the men behind this movement. The UBI is specifically being designed for that world, the world to come, or the world that is evolving, coming to be right now. Because they already see, because, again, this year, a couple thousand jobs are going to be replaced by AI. So this is it's not a discussion. It's not something to be scared about. It's inevitable. It's going to happen. So there's been this whole trend in the last 3 years of a lot of people just being taken out of their jobs, being laid off. And this is what's going on. And it's going to still continue this year because, like I said, companies are incentivized to do this. Because what happens is that when you lay off thousands of people, that's a lot of money coming back to the company, which they can claim as profits. They can declare it as profits, in their press statements. The CEOs get $1 million bonus checks. People get rewarded. So they're going to find every way to maximize this. So, and AI is doing a great job, right? However, I think in 3 years, so I know I gave a forecast of 2, 3 years, but in 3 years to come, UBI is going to be a key instrument to give some people a semblance of normal life, people have been laid off work, who don't have jobs. So UBI will be seen as a semblance of having a normal life, maybe not as flamboyant as it used to be, but just enough to pay the essentials, right? So now there's this famous statement by, I think, was it the head of the World Economic Forum, Klaus Schwab, I think that's his name. He said that, and he gave this prediction. He said, in a few years, you will own nothing and be happy, right? So think about that. In a few years, you will own nothing and be happy. And then you have Elon Musk saying, very soon you would not need to work, right? Then you have Gates saying, within 10 years, society will be transformed. And these guys have a track record of saying things that happen, that come to be. So they're not necessarily prophets per se. They're actually planners. They understand, how the technology is going to evolve, how it's going to impact society. So the UBI here is part of the systems that are put into this plan in play to ensure that there's not complete chaos in society.
Yes.
However, the question is, would you want to live the rest of your life happy with a stipend, comfortable with a stipend, or you want to live your life to the max by taking advantage of, let's use the word, your God-given resources?
Yes,
your
and
talents,
that's exactly
your gifts.
That's exactly where I was going. And this is, so we may end up doing a part 2. And let me tell you why.
Yep.
Because so many things were like ding, 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 ding while you were talking. I was like, it's so many angles to hit what you're saying, because my first response is, how do we raise up disruptors who are not complacent with a system that's created for you to live within? So that was one of my questions. In essence, how do we develop and nurture and cultivate communities that will not settle for just sustaining, or this is as far as I've designed the system to take you, and this is your parameters. This is where, how do we get forward thinkers to enter into the conversations and have the insight? So I say that to say is, there's this thing here in the Metro Detroit area where they distribute what they call, it's a big booklet, it's called Future Detroit. So what it does is, it will give you what's coming down the pipe 10 and 15 years in the future.
Okay.
It gives you an opportunity to prepare now for then, engage now, so that you can be in the know, in the thriving portions. It won't be a surprise. Now, the first time I saw that was back, I think the first time I saw it could have been either I think it was the early 2000s or very late 90s. It was probably the early 2000s. No, it was the early 2000s.
Okay.
And it just blew my mind away, because I was like, wait, so there are people that have things already documented that was going to roll out. Like the one of the big changes that happened, like in downtown Detroit, is the Cobo Center was completely revamped and changed. And I saw the blueprint of it years before it came out. And so when you have that foresight, you would think it's time to buy property around there. It's time to, prepare legacies and generational wealth and so many things. They're thinking about doing other transportation to go through another neighboring city. So that neighboring city isn't developed. So this is a perfect
Yeah.
time to get property while it's undervalued and
Yep.
prepared for when the value increases. So that's about having an investment mindset that I'm
Yeah.
just going to sit there and know that a future is happening and not participate in it.
Oh yeah.
It takes a certain type of person to have the capacity and the desire to engage.
Oh
So
yeah.
when you're talking about the UBI and when you're talking about those that have projections not only of what the future will be, but also a hand in determining the outcomes and the triggers to ensure that it happens that way, we need to have another roundtable conversation.
I like the way you phrase it. They ensure that things happen the way they foresee it. Because at the end of the day, you have to ask yourself this question. Whose life am I living? Right? Whose reality am I part of?
Yes.
So when you have these guys talking about the future so confidently, in fact, if I see any of them, giving an interview and making these bold statements, I already know what's up. I'm like, okay, yeah. Because so a good example would be, and this is just, by the way, but it did happen. I think this was the early 2000s. There was a famous TED talk by a certain gentleman we all know about, you know, um, potential pandemics, and it did happen. It happened this TED talk was like the early 2000s. The pandemic happened early 2020.
2020. Yes.
Ran for a couple of years. Certain corporations made billions of dollars.
Yes.
And these corporations were in many ways connected to this same individual. That's a template. That's a formula. That's how certain people set the terms for a reality they want, where they know they would win.
Yes.
So again, this is their world, but at the end of the day, I think people who are waking up and getting smart, this is you ask yourself this question, okay, in this reality, how can I create my own bubble reality, my own little pocket where I have some kind of control? So if there's anything that's going to be as transforming as the internet was,
yes,
or whatever, it's this AI thing.
Absolutely.
Because it completely gives power to whoever is in the right position to take it. So at this point right now, the corporations or the organizations that create these tools that everyone is using right now, they've already put their foot, they've already put their flag, they've already set their flags on the mountaintop that, yep, this is our space. So all of you guys play by our rules. The trick now is, okay, fine. How does this technology help me, right? So this list, there was something I said before before I shared this list, this is 65 jobs that are claimed to be proof or future proof from AI takeover. And that's cool. But one thing that's not on this list. So this is me now thinking beyond what was shared to the public. So this is a public list. Anybody can go and find this out. But if you want to go deep and you want to think deep, you're going to ask yourself the question, okay, fine. What is it that this information is not telling me? So that's where guys like me come in, because I'm like, okay, fine. This is all nice. Everyone is going to go and try and do any of these jobs, right? So nurse practitioners, guys are going to be going to go do nursing right now.
Yes, everybody, they on the way to school.
Yep. Everyone is going back to school right now to go learn one of these things, right? Yep. And I mean, it's like literally, if you look at the whole list, it's pretty much jobs that involve human contact, human connection.
Yes.
That is essential, right? Oh, they even have chief executives, leadership, leading people. But everything else kind of is health based, or sports, pretty much sports oriented, whatever. But one thing I didn't see on this list is it ties in with those who are in the technological space or the technical space, right? No matter how powerful AI systems are or how they evolve over the next few months. Let me not say years, months, or even weeks, because things are happening so fast right now.
Right.
We're literally enjoying chat. I think GPT-4, and next thing we have O3, and they claim O3 right now is kind of close to what they call AGI. So AGI is what they call I think it's called artificial is it general intelligence or something? So pretty much it's a level of intelligence an AI system can evolve to where it can become far superior to a human being. This is what these guys are thinking about. They're literally thinking about replacing humanity with something that is smarter, more powerful. So things are happening so fast, and there's a lot of money going into that research and into that technology. So we're going to be seeing things happen quickly in a couple of weeks or whatever, right? But the question that I had to ask was, okay, fine. All these systems will need a whole ecosystem of its own, an ecosystem of maintenance,
Yes.
engineering, support.
Yes.
So people have been giving this talk about how they're going to lose their jobs, how they're going to, be put out in the streets, how they're going to be homeless, because AI is going to take your job. What people are not talking about is what new opportunities are going to come out in this future. So these systems are not in the sky, right? They're not operating from some parallel reality now. These systems are running on servers, data centers, buildings that have all these computers and whatnot. They're running through cables, they're running through fiber optic cables, they're running through wireless systems. So it's a whole ecosystem of technologies that require maintenance, repair, support, and then you can have people. There's another layer too of training, education on people using these systems. There's also another level of training, coaching. So people use these systems, what kind of health risks are they exposed to? Right? What are the dangers, they're going to experience, psychologically or health-wise by being around this technology all the time, right? So there's that whole space, that whole industry.
It is.
Of people. Oh yeah. So that's a completely different kind of discussion, because it also gives a light of, it's like a glimmer of hope that, okay, while certain jobs are going to be wiped out, new jobs will be created.
Yes, absolutely.
New opportunities are going to spring up, right? And that's where my interest is, because what it means is, like, for me, I don't necessarily have to throw away all my training and all my education. I could simply upskill myself, learn a few things, and then maybe create a completely new kind of job for myself in that world. Or,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah,
go ahead.
Oh yeah, or I could come back again to my first, my earlier discussion on, what's my essential piece, So looking at this list, number 6. So there we go, coaches and scouts.
Yes, because I was going to lean toward that way, because one thing about me is I absolutely love people, and with this AI coming in fiercely, and everyone that's going to be displaced by it, who's going to catch those displaced people?
There we go.
So you're right. It creates other opportunities for those who, I love the whole person. You understand what I'm saying? So if a part of you is extracted traumatically,
there we go.
there
Yep.
has to be someone to come in to almost either catch you and or walk you back to that place where you feel whole and complete again.
There's a whole space that's going to pop up with this AI takeover, and that whole space is helping people deal with that transition.
Absolutely.
Yep. So fine, you've been displaced by AI, you're now confused on what to do with your life next. So there's that whole gap, that whole confusion.
And
oh yeah.
Oh my goodness, this is exciting
There you
because
go.
it takes them back to the first thing you said, the first principles, the foundational things of life. You go back to the basics of your existence and your purpose. So actually, this technology, this advancement of artificial intelligence will truly give people an opportunity to breathe because they've been holding their breath for so long and it's becoming their normal. And they've gotten so far away from their purpose that it takes a swift change in order for them to say, oh, I've neglected my first love. I've neglected my purpose, my foundation. And they are forced to be authentic.
They're going to take off that mask that they've worn for the last 3 decades or 2 decades of their professional life.
Yes.
And finally stare at themselves and say, okay, fine.
Oh
now I don't need to wear this mask anymore. Who am I?
This is good.
Who am I right now?
So with that being said, because we can go on and on and on, continue. Thank you so much for sharing that. And people,
you're welcome.
Those people, listen, to you that is watching this episode, I want you to go research these jobs, research your purpose, begin to bring your life back to that place of where it all started, where it all makes sense, where it's all meaning and purpose, so that when things begin to change around you, you can say, that doesn't change my core. It is not traumatic for me because I'm prepared. So Daniel, I want to say thank you so much for this conversation and going through this. I know for sure I'm going to have you back for more conversations.
My pleasure.
In a plethora of areas. Are there any parting words you would like to leave those that are watching now?
Well, yeah, I'll simply say, don't fear the future. Prepare for it, and you'll be fine. Yeah.
All right, perfect. Well, you have tuned in today to the LeAnn Show, Brilliant Conversations. We focus on artificial intelligence. Thank you for joining us. Super excited for connecting. Make sure you like, subscribe, share, comment, all the things that come up when it comes to AI, the impact that you desire to make, what steps you're going to take. Comment, share with others, and have those conversations with those you love. Until next time, remember that life is absolutely beautiful and it's better because you're in it. See you next time.